Geek Out! Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Team Jess.
Honestly, yeah, I got into a talk about that on Facebook today. Like, somebody was like, Rory Gilmore is the worst. And I was like,
that's bullshit.
You go too far, sir. You go too far.
And
he was like, she's too vanilla. And I was like, you know who's fucking vanilla? No. Ice. And I talked about, again, terrible jokes here, but I was like, and I haven't watched as much. You're more informed on this, but I was like, Jess was not the best boyfriend Rory's had, but he was the right boyfriend at that time because he challenges her.
Yeah, he's the right boyfriend at the time. He is a pretty shitty boyfriend to her. And again, I'm not going to spoil. I'll talk about the revival a little bit, but like later on. But like, it's about him as like a friend and a person for her. And also, there's this like backlash that's happened since the revival that Rory's the worst. Fuck all that shit. She's still my dream girl. # forever.
Yeah. So, you guys have a good Thanksgiving before we jump into the interview?
I did. Yeah.
I had to work.
Yeah, okay. I had it too, but they had a nice spread.
Yeah. You know something I am thankful for? Throwaways by Kittredge and Steven Sanders.
You know what I'm thankful for? Good segues.
Good segues, yeah. And it's convenient that I'm thankful for that book because we might happen to have the creators of that book on right now. And joining us this week, we have Kittredge and Steven Sanders. They're here to promote their Image Comics series, Throwaways. The first volume comes out everywhere in comic shops and on Comixology on Wednesday, December 21st. And then the series resumes with issue 5 on Wednesday, February 8th. Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much.
So I think a lot of people don't know how true to life the weird CIA programs like in The Men Who Stare at Goats actually are. And yet reading this book, it's like, oh, and you doing some research about MK Ultra, it's like, oh, this shit actually existed. What were some of your inspirations kind of going into this weird side of psi warfare with the book?
It's funny you should mention The Men Who Stare at Goats because that was one of my big impetuses for getting the idea for Throwaways, was reading that book these many years ago. It's great. I recommend it to everybody who would be interested in our comic. It's hilarious and terrifying and great intro into all these true to life, wacky, weird government and CIA programs that have been attempted over the years with mind control and remote viewing and psychic assassination, all this crazy shit that is in Throwaways. All of the really wacky stuff in the book is based on something that actually happened, which people seem to have a hard time believing.
Are we ever going to? I noticed when I was doing an image search for MK Ultra, there was some image involving a child in a hospital bed with a strain urine sample sign on the wall, and I have no idea what that was all about, but I kind of wanted to see that.
I think we should just draw that verbatim into some issue in this book. I don't even know how we'd work that.
Is that Dean's backstory before they go into hiding? So this is a more grounded book for than I'm used to seeing. I mean, Caitlin, you did Coffin Hill over with Vertigo. Steven, you've done Moon Knight, Iron Man, a bunch of superhero fare. Did you kind of have to change gears a bit when tackling? And though I will say, fantastical things happen in Throwaways, but did you guys have to kind of change gears and when you approach the story?
I was actually really excited to write this more kind of grounded, more science fictional take on a spy thriller, because like you said, I had just finished Coffin Hill, which is basically just a big magic acid trip set in the woods. And so I would say, yeah, it was a change of gears for me, but it was a nice, fun, welcome change of gears, because I've only ever done work that's fantasy and horror before Throwaways. Like, I've never gone into like the thriller genre, the spy fiction genre, sci-fi, anything like that. So it was terrifying and exhilarating, I will say.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same with me too. I had only done superhero and sci-fi fantasy type stuff as well, so it was a chance to kind of get out of my wheelhouse and learn a lot of new storytelling devices and techniques of making things seem more realistic. than I had been in the past when I got to basically just kind of make everything up as I went along.
Well, I mean, and you mentioned that, and there are very, even though there are like Stranger Things-esque like power levels and that sort of thing, there is a sense that there's like real consequences, like bones break, people bleed, people get hurt. How do you kind of? I wouldn't equate Throwaways to being an escapist book at all, because there is, again, that kind of grounded feel, despite the more fantastical people with powers, and we're seeing more and more people with powers as the story progresses without giving the game away. How do you kind of strike that balance both visually and in writing?
I'll let Steven take that first, because he is the one who does all the awesome visual stuff that brings my really, really, really long tangential panel descriptions to life on the scripts I sent in.
Oh, man. Honestly, like I have kind of a... I'm kind of bad about being asked this question, because I tend to just kind of wing it and don't really think about it a whole lot.
That's all fine.
So,
We wing everything here too. So
yeah, right.
That's
right.
totally
So it's just kind of like this kind of vague image appears in my head when I read the script, and I'm going to try and get it out on the page, and it just kind of slowly comes into focus from scribbles. And I wish that I could have some kind of great like inside the actor studio sort of thing where I can really get into the technique and everything. But I just I read the script and I get a vague image, and I run with it.
Yeah, I should have done my best James Lipton and asked them what their favorite curse words were.
Yeah, stack of note cards. If there's a heaven. No, but like for example, like one of my favorite moments in the book. I won't necessarily go into detail what happens, but it's a layout of a gun firing, and next to it are the shells for the bullets that are firing. So like when something like that comes about, is that something that's very written detailed in the script, or is that something, Steve, that you kind of have free range to come up with that idea?
Okay, yeah. That Caitlin was very kind and allowed me kind of free reign over stuff like that. And for whatever reason, the image that came to head or to mind was a sort of a Howard Chaykin-esque sort of deal. And so, yeah, that was how I decided to go about trying to communicate that whole event, rather than a more traditional, panel by panel, linear progression sort of deal.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing.
I think the sum total of my panel description for that page that you're referring to was he executes them. So that was all Steven. I sent him like this crazy, like all caps email when he sent me that page. He's like, "I love this so much. This is so great. Oh my god, we're gonna put this in all the previews. Everyone's gonna love it." And it's totally like it was that. So that's all him. He is awesome like that.
Well, and for whatever it's worth, I can't write my way out of a wet paper sack. So it's really critical to have a good script like I'm getting from Caitlin.
I cannot write my way out of a dry paper sack, but a wet paper sack I've pretty much got.
So see, you're up on me.
What would be better? I feel like white or dry like tears easier, right?
No, wet is just like it's just soggy.
Oh.
You just push on that, you're good. You're out of there.
Fair enough.
Deep thoughts.
Yeah. The rhetorical analogies explored. Speaking of analogies, I don't even think this is an analogy at all. But the Dean is very kind of like punk rock, very, he's got the mohawk, he's got the Travis Bickle. He's basically like a telekinetic Travis Bickle. Yeah. But and I mean that as a compliment, absolutely. I love Taxi Driver. Oh, yeah. Whereas Abby, is even though she comes from a troubled past with what happened to her mother and everything, she is the military woman. She is the woman of action. She is very much kind of very gung-ho and very in charge. So what was the idea in creating this kind of like on the run fugitive odd couple? Like, what did you want to just kind of create the biggest mismatch? What was the kind of inspiration there?
Yeah, I really just. Oh, I'm sorry. One of my cats just totally knocked over everything on my side table. If you heard a giant crash just now. But yeah, I wanted to. I really, when I started thinking about the two, I always knew there would be two protagonists in Throwaways because there had to be one who was the psychic and one who was the badass. And I really just started out with a really simple kind of idea of just flipping the script and writing a guy who was kind of clueless and didn't know what was going on, and maybe was a little bit of a damsel that needed saving, and this like hyper competent like lady soldier, and kind of the Terminator Sarah Connor type dynamic in the beginning, and just kind of ran with it, and Abby and Dean evolved from there.
And then where was the idea with Dean's girlfriend? I guess Nakamura would be her actual name without going into too much detail. But what was the idea of having Dean kind of have this ancillary, almost wild card figure kind of accompanying him at the same time?
Yeah, I just as I started writing the first issue, she wasn't in the original draft, and there was just really something missing, and Dean was just this really like lone angry white guy dude, and like I was like, oh, I'm not into this. He needs something else. He needs a friend. He needs a balancing force, a moral compass type person. And she came from that, and she evolved into like this kind of awesome bohemian like alternative Japanese American chick, just because I'm super sick of like Asian nerd stereotypes, and she is a total nerd, but she's an awesome one.
As a half Korean nerd, I certainly appreciate this. But we see quite a bit of Abby's background moving forward. In fact, I think almost all, not all, but probably the majority of the flashbacks follow her own experiences, before she runs into Dean. Moving forward, are we going to start to, and we kind of get hints of Dean's as well, certainly when a certain figure from his past shows up. But are we going to, moving forward in the series, are we going to start to see more of Dean's background?
Yeah, Dean's background, his story is more of like a family saga, like kind of again, without giving too much away, it's kind of an unfolding of like all this deep trauma and deep hurt and like deep secrets from his past that all involve his family, at least tangentially. So you get to see a lot of snippets from various parts of Dean's family tree, especially in the next arc. There's like an entire issue devoted to kind of how he kind of came to be where he is and have his abilities and like be in the situation he's in the moment when issues like 5 and 6 open.
Now, Caitlin, to kind of put you on the spot, what made Steven the perfect artist for Throwaways?
He was available and far and away the best choice that I came across in my artist search. So that magic combination of being really good and really available.
Scheduling in this industry can be a bit problematic. Now, Steven, to reverse the question, what really drew you to Caitlin's scripts and the story and everything that made you want to draw this thing, to bring it to visual life?
I like getting paid for my work. And she writes a good script, honestly. Things are well communicated. There's a compelling story. I feel like the characters have some depth to them. There's a lot of room for me to play around with things visually, and just plot and world that she had constructed in the script that I saw when I was offered the job. It was just really compelling, and I wanted to crack it the best that I could to bring that to life for her.
Well, that sounds good. What can we expect moving forward in the story? Moving into, because we end at kind of a crossroads with with this first volume over at issue 4. Issue 5. I mean, again, I don't want to give the game away for all you listeners at home, because the first collection will be out again on December 21st. Perfect stocking stuffer. But moving forward, what can we, or you could put it under the menorah if you're so inclined. what can we expect moving forward for the second volume?
Yeah, like you said, issue 4 ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. The first 4 issues raise a lot of questions, like a Lost level amount of questions. I feel like, but unlike Lost, I actually am planning to answer them all as the series goes on. Like I have charts and everything in my laptop of what is happening when, at least how it should be happening. Just so I don't forget or leave anything dangling. But yeah, issue 5 takes kind of a left turn and kind of hits this conspiracy that has been hinted at in the first 4 issues head on, exposes a lot of it, but while it answers a bunch of questions from the first volume, raises a bunch more that will kind of take us deeper into more of like the second layer of this conspiracy that Abby and Dean have found themselves caught up in, and we'll meet a couple more people with abilities, some good, some bad, some very, very, very bad. And Abby, again, without spoiling anything for anyone who might be picking up Volume 1, without having read the singles, Abby goes from being kind of a passive reactionary player in this to being very much kind of an instigator, and decides to bring the fight to the people that are trying to kill her and Dean. Would
you say that Abby saving Dean, I mean, this is something that happens in the from Jump, is something that really, would you say that kind of gives Dean's life kind of a purpose that had been lacking his entire life, or at least since he had been adopted or taken into foster care?
Yeah, Dean feels like the world's out to screw you, so you better screw the world first. And Abby forces him to realize that sometimes having like the selfish, like, F you attitude toward everything isn't the best way to approach every single situation in your life. So yeah, he is going to have to explore being a little more selfless in the coming arc, and not necessarily even in a heroic way, just in a way where you have to consider the bigger picture and be a little bit pragmatic. You can't just go off half-cocked.
Full-cocked. But the, it's just the dumbest jokes here. I swear. I'm sorry, listeners at home. I'm sorry, guys.
we all try it. I mean, I don't think we can throw stones.
So you had kind of hinted at like trying to take a break from fantasy or action or sci-fi or horror. What was it that made you want to get into MK Ultra? What really was that the genesis? I mean, you had kind of hinted with The Men Who Stare at Goats, and were you just kind of reading that, or it was like, I kind of want to do my own kind of riff on this, or I think I've got a story within this realm?
Yeah, I'm a giant history nerd, and I love reading a lot. I read a lot about like the Cold War and like 20th century history and military history. So like I've been kind of steeped in this whole thing for a long time, like ever since, I hadn't gotten an interest in it in like high schools. And I think the story had been knocking around in the back of my mind for like 10 or 15 years, probably, honestly. And I think I finally just found my opening, starting with reading The Men Who Stare at Goats. And I was finally like, yep, that's it. That's the story I want to write about.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of that in the zeitgeist these days. I mean, we last year we had American Ultra, which kind of had the sleeper trained killers, and then of course this year we've had Stranger Things with the telekinetic, 11 and everything, which I presume was a product of a Cold War experience. I think they say as much in the series.
So, yeah.
So I feel like I don't know if it's just that we're kind of coming around to that again, or if we're getting paranoid with Russia, with Putin being, Putin. But yeah, do you have any kind of insight on why we might be like culturally leaning towards that again?
Yeah, I think culturally at this point we're as paranoid as we were during the Cold War, because our government has given us reasons to be paranoid. I mean, the NSA is spying on people. People are being blown up by drones every single day. You can't trust your government. Sometimes you can't even really trust yourself. And I try to ground, because Throwaways is a story at the core about people with wacky, like, psychic powers. I tried to ground it, like, hardcore in, like, the gritty reality of what it's like to be, like, a combat veteran, the subject of, like, government spying, like, the subject of, like, illegal rendition and detention. It just, I tried to throw in as much, real world, very tangible, relatable things as I could, because otherwise it's just the X-Men, and that's not what I set out to write. No knocks on the X-Men. I love X-Men, just not the direction I was trying to go in.
So what I'm hearing is we're not going to see Dean take on Sentinels.
Probably no robot fights.
Well, then
sadly.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see.
I was waiting for the robot fights.
If anyone's going to fight a robot, it's going to be Abby. Come on.
I'm waiting for the Throwaways Judge Dredd crossover, because that would be.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, or
Martial law, hell yes.
Woo,
Yeah.
martial law.
Yes. Waiting for someone to reference martial law since day one. Yeah. I'm out. We're good. I'm done.
We can kill the podcast.
This will be the last interview.
I'm done.
So something we ask everybody that comes on the show, guys. What are you guys currently geeking out over?
Oh boy, I geeking out 24/7 over something or other. This is just gonna sound like this is nothing to do with comics or anything, but it's the thing I'm always geeking out over. Like I said, I'm a big history buff, nonfiction reader, and I was reading a history of the Bletchley Park in World War II. The attempts to by Alan Turing and his colleagues to decode the German Enigma machine,
Right.
and that's been a fantastic read, and I've been geeking out over that and probably boring everyone who knows me in real life to tears talking about it over the past couple weeks.
I do like that you reference, there's a very quick reference to Turing in Throwaways where she's just like, thank Alan Turing that you're okay. And I was just like, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I originally had some kind of Star Trek reference there, and I was like, no, she wouldn't make a Star Trek reference. Alan Turing, that's where it's at in this scene.
I mean, the guy, to his credit, he basically covertly wins World War II and invents modern computing as an encore. So, hats off to Alan.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, amazing guy.
But Steven, what are you geeking out over?
Mine's not comic related either. And it might be incredibly boring to everybody, but I have gotten into making milk plastic. Apparently prior to World War II, a majority of plastics made from milk, from casein, the protein, and it's super easy, and it turns into this hard, clear plastic that you can carve and turn into things, and it was used a lot in whole costume jewelry thing. Started out with that of material, and I found this old 1907 book on production, and they have how to make everything from imitation bone and ivory to leather and weird instrument material, and
That is an amazing answer. I'm super jealous of you and this book. That sounds amazing.
I'll send you a link if you want. It's really.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm the biggest history nerd in the world. I love reading about shit like that. I love it.
What was it about? What is it about history that really kind of always, I guess, entranced you with the? I don't want to call it a genre because it's not really. Discipline, subject area.
My favorite genre.
Yeah, my favorite genre is history.
Is real.
My favorite genre of real life is history. No, I really sucked at math all through school, and history was the class I got the best grades in. So
you are preaching to the
most
choir.
of my effort into it, and I became a big old nerd for it, and I just stayed that way after I graduated from high school and graduated from college, and I will freely bore people to tears if they ask me about any of my areas of special interest, like the Cold War or anything like that. So, if you need anyone for trivia night,
Yeah, we all have Sorry, I was gonna say we all have our perfect. The three of us have insane knowledge on the stupidest things that work so well for trivia night.
I mean, Jake, you work at George Washington's Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I work at old George Washington's house.
Nice.
So if
that's
you're
amazing.
if
Dude,
you have,
that's great. That's
yeah, if
almost
you-
as amazing as milk plastic.
yeah, if you guys are ever in town, let me know. Get you guys free tickets. You can tour the mansion.
You
and-
get the exclusive access.
Yeah,
too.
you can see the third floor. You can see the basement.
I'll be in my car like tomorrow. It's dangerous to offer me that. Like you don't even understand.
Yeah.
Like how much time I spend going to like museums and visiting like old places.
They actually just opened about a month, 2 months ago. They just redid their museum to focus on slavery at Mount Vernon for the next 2 years.
Awesome.
And it's one
I mean,
of
not awesome.
yeah.
obviously.
Well, I found my
Museum.
Slavery's
Awesome
rad.
museum.
yes,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
I had to use my
Oh.
words very carefully when I was telling people that too. But it's amazing. It's
interesting.
it's very interesting.
Yes.
It's
informative.
very informative.
Yes.
Yes. But yeah.
Revelatory, even.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we're kind of spoiled because we live right outside of D.C., right, where George Washington's Mount Vernon is, as opposed to Winston Churchill's Mount Vernon. But the in D.C. we've got the Smithsonian, so we always had access to these like free museums, and we would always, we could see the lunar lander at Air and Space, or we could see the U-27 or the
Starship Enterprise.
the original model for the Starship Enterprise,
Yeah.
which they just renovated. My God, yeah,
Nice.
The mothership from Close Encounters
with the R2D2.
with R2D2. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, to take
Or
it.
real things.
Oh, yeah.
That was real, man.
Oh, we actually landed
That is
on
a-
the moon,
no.
I'll have you know.
Close Encounters is a documentary, man.
Yeah, we actually communicated with aliens through music.
Yes.
But the with tonal keyboards like Mannheim Steamroller. But the I mean, we
It's why Richard
Every-
Dreyfuss was gone.
Aliens
for
Every
Blah, blah,
year
blah.
they're just trying to get home, and we're like, "Yay, Christmas!"
they even have the same light show if you think about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what if that's it?
Whoa.
Oh my God, I might actually have to listen to Mannheim Steamroller now.
I think we just helped them come up with a story for the next story arc.
Yeah. They apparently have a non-Christmas set, and I'm like, my God, what would that entail?
I don't know.
But
The mind reels.
That's like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra having a non-Christmas set.
which they
But
do.
yeah, they do.
And a singer. Which is even weirder.
Oh God, do they sing in Russian?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hope they would. They're going Trans-Siberia.
Yeah. But so to to take it all back, we tangent a lot on this thing too. But so we've already kind of teased what's moving forward. Do you guys have anything else that you'd like to plug while we have you on our lovely program?
I am just wrapped work on a couple of super cool miniseries that I hope people will pick up if they want more of my work, or at least my work and someone else's work in conjunction. So that would probably be what I would recommend people pick up. And obviously Coffin Hill is all collected in trade.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do want to read my, super dark, gory, Lovecraftian horror magic acid trip in the woods story, you can go ahead and grab that. It's everywhere: bookstores, comic book stores, the internet.
As an aside, Coffin Hill, and I'm not just saying this to get my nose brown, I swear to God, but Coffin Hill is one of the best like Vertigo books I've read in quite some time. So it just
I'm thrilled to hear that, and I will take it. I will just say yes. Thank you.
no problem. Yeah, it just kind of like tickled all my kind of like horror sensibilities. So it was like, oh, this is awesome. This is fucking awesome. So yeah, definitely check it out, listeners at home, if you haven't given Coffin Hill a fair shake. Steven, do you have anything you want to plug while we got you on?
Gosh, I think the only thing I could probably talk about would be I had a character for a project called Symbiosis. That's sort of a world building 1940s biopunk type. And while I'm waiting and while I'm finishing up, I'm putting out a sort of mini version of it, called the chapbook, and that will be coming out sometime this month, or rather December. So it's going to be probably like a pay what you want ebook.
Would it be available on Comixology as well?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Pretty lazy about that sort of thing. So there's some easy way for me to get it on Comixology and do a page, a what you want.
Fair enough. All
But I
right.
will look into it. So.
Yeah, it's super rad. You should definitely check it out, and everything else that Steven has done that's not Throwaways, because I cannot say enough good things about him as his co-worker on this book.
Well, there is kind of something almost, and some artists don't like to talk influences, but there is something almost like Steve Dillon-esque about the art in Throwaways. Very clean, very. I mean, but like Stephen Dillon, it doesn't shy away from the violence at all. It's very unflinching in that, and that was kind of a sensibility I got reading the book.
So, yeah, it's always kind of fascinating to me the other artists that people in my work, and how frequently I'm almost nearly unfamiliar with those people. My main influences were Mobius, and a lot of Japanese mangaka, and well, maybe basically any artist that I saw a bit of something that I liked and steal from it, but
I mean, either way, it looks good, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I am familiar with Steve Dillon. Really, I need to go and look at his stuff more than to see what more I can pull from it.
It's a good comparison. I can say as a Steve Dillon fan, it's very.
Oh, I
it's an
believe
A++ comparison.
It's nice. Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah. Again, the first volume of Throwaways is in comic book shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, December 21st. And issue 5, which kicks off the second arc, will be also in comic book shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, February 8th. Guys, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us. It's been amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
So that was a lovely interview.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, read Throwaways, kids, and read Coffin Hill, and we've got biopunk. What does that even mean?
I don't know. Smart misfits.
Smart misfits.
Yeah.
If such a thing can exist.
Hey, you fucker.
I like the Misfits as much as the next guy, but Return the Fly with Vincent Price. It's not very. There's not a lot of thought in the Misfits, is what I'm trying to say.
You've clearly never listened to the lyrics.
Or
Halloween.
too many of them.
Halloween. I have.
Or Halloween 2, where it's just nonsense Latin.
You've clearly never listened to the lyrics of We Are 138.
We are 138. 12 o'clock. Don't be late.
No, that's not lyrics.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's so. In addition to reading Throwaways and Coffin Hill and finding, biopunk and everything, I have to listen to more Misfits.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I have the Coffin collection right there.
It doesn't take up too much of your time. The songs are really short.
Yeah, they are. You were saying that you got the first 2 volumes.
First 2 collections on 1 disc, and it was sold as 2 discs. It's like 60 tracks, I think, something crazy like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. You guys, so nothing interesting Thanksgiving weekend?
I mean, Gilmore Girls came out. I mean, that's
right.
I'll finish that
that.
thought because it's but it's my sister introduced it to me a long time ago, back when it was still on the air around season 4, maybe season 3. I don't remember exactly. Season 3, season 4, and I watched it when I was babysitting her once, and I fell in love with the show. Like unapologetically. Some people have this really weird thing. They're like, oh, it's a guilty pleasure. No, it's a fucking good show, man. They do a really good job of making you want to live in Stars Hollow. They do the characters are great. Every character is great on that show, even if you don't like the character because you're not supposed to. Christopher. But
Tristan.
Yeah, Tristan, you fucker. You don't have to worry about him for too long. But
I don't know anything you guys are talking
well,
about.
you know, it's on Netflix now. You got the whole thing at your fingertips now. You don't got to wait anymore. But
Nicole once tried to get me to watch it while we were living together up in New York,
Mhm.
and she fell asleep halfway through the first show, so I just switched it to a different show.
oh, you fucker. No, but I mean, you know, my sister. Yeah, you fucker. My sister and I have been waiting for that. My mom too for a long time. My sister bought a shirt that says Babette ate oatmeal, which will make sense later on if you haven't seen that thing. And you know, a couple of things. And our plan was, like the Gilmore Girls themselves, we bought 2 large pizzas, Panda Express, tater tots, lots of coffee. Did I say Pop-Tarts already?
No.
Pop-Tarts. And then we just feasted while watching it, you know, all 6 hours of it. You know, we binged the whole thing in one sitting. And it was great, you know. I'm not going to spoil any of it at all, you know, but, you know, Gilmore Girls fans know that, you know, Amy Sherman-Palladino from day one knew the last 4 words of the show. Unfortunately, the original run is 7 seasons. She is not a part of the 7th season, so the fans didn't get that, you know, that closure of the 4 words. So this is kind of a nice treat to finally get those 4 words. But the show, the revival is so much more than just those last 4 words. It's really great to see these characters again. You know, they jump right back into it. It's like without skipping a beat, because the show's been off the air for like a long time. Jesus Christ. Almost a decade, I think. Or maybe not. I have no idea. I can't remember. But it's been off for a while. Yeah, I think it was, because I think it started in 2000 and it ended in like 2007-ish. But it's great. You know, I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to go too in depth into it because I know Sam's in the middle of watching it, and I don't want to spoil anything on it. But I was very pleased with it. I really enjoyed it. You know, and what I do with a lot of shows when a series is done. I go back that night and just watch the pilot, because it's always weird just to see it, you know, kind of start all over, and they're super young. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to rewatch this whole thing again. You know, I'd like to do that every so often, like I do with The Office or Frasier or Scrubs. So I'm in the middle of a rewatch of the Gilmore Girls, and it's always a lot of fun. It's a comfort show. You know, no matter how shitty your day is, you can go home and you know, spend 45 minutes in Stars Hollow. You know, it's so smartly written. The performances are great. You know, Lauren Graham is just a total beast, man. On that show, and you know, Alexis Bledel is, the two of them have this just wonderful chemistry. And like, you know, we were saying earlier, you know, you get kind of like that fun thing of like, you know, Rory's got the different boyfriends, and you know, these different characters that you fall in love with. Kirk being one of them, who's the brother is what's his name? James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy fame.
Oh, Sean Gunn,
Yeah, Sean Gunn playing Kirk, who started off as just a one-day player and became the guy who has like 200 jobs in Stars Hollow. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm really excited with it, and I'm really glad it's back, and I'm glad that like people are talking about Gilmore Girls, and it's getting kind of a boost because it's a great show.
You saw something else over Thanksgiving weekend.
I did, yeah. I saw Edge of 17, which I've been excited to see. I think we've talked about it once or twice on here. You know, we're all humongo Jerry fans of the coming of age tale. And this is right up there with for me, you know, with
Perks being a
wallflower, and
I speak fart. It's cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. The person being a wallflower, and do you know what that is?
Was that one Sing Street?
You got it, buddy.
Oh, right.
Fart and ease, man. You got that shit down, sir. Literally.
Years of practice.
Hey, thanks, man. That was good. That was very good. But yeah, again, there's a little bit. I was telling Sam, like in terms of kind of plot and mood, it falls in between, because Perks has, if you haven't seen it, it has some very heavy things going on in that movie and book.
It's kind of the twist.
Yeah, there's a twist in there, but it's all done really well. It's still a hopeful story. All these stories are hopeful in the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Sing Street, which is still my favorite movie of the year, and on Netflix, by the way, so check it out. But that one's very hopeful. I mean, there's some dark moments in there, but that's much more on the more uplifting side, and kind of not everything will be all right in the end kind of thing, but a lot more kind of hopeful.
It's Daydream-esque.
Yeah, perfect. Daydream-esque. And Edge of 17 falls somewhere in the middle and very
more cynical.
Yeah, it is cynical. And, you know, I was saying that, like, if I was in high school now, which I'm clearly not, the character in Edge of 17 is somebody I would, like, totally fall for. Like, that kind of, like, pop, kind of like a Rory Gilmore-esque. She's a lot more cynical than Rory Gilmore, but very like pop culture oriented. Speaks in pop culture. Kind of the outcast. Isn't the super popular kid. Dresses like it's the '80s, and really kind of dark sense of humor. And Haley Steinfeld from True Grit fame, which is where she, I think she got nominated for an Oscar for that. 13 years old or something like that, which is the first time she was ever on my radar. Fantastic in this. I would dare say it's my favorite performance of the year so far. She takes this movie and fucking runs with it. Woody Harrelson, the coming of age movies always has like that great supporting character, whether it's the brother like in Sing Street. Would you call Ezra Miller? He's not really a supporting character, but like he's not obviously like the main focus of it.
He's not the protagonist.
He's not the protagonist, but he's very much a supporting character. One of the great.
Paul Rudd, I think, is a great supporting character.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Rudd is just like Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And Edge of 17, but Woody Harrelson is a funny, like dark humor motherfucker.
Yeah.
And there's a great moment with him.
Regular ass dude.
Yeah, regular ass dude.
With a big dick. It's probably my favorite line in True Detective.
Yeah. I love Woody Harrelson, man.
Yeah.
Like he's the fucking best. Like I want to hang out with Woody Harrelson so bad. I want to write a song about Woody Harrelson. But I also love that in Cheers he plays a guy named Woody. That's just always funny to me. But top marks for Edge of 17. Great soundtrack, great script. Great movie. I want to see it again. Definitely. I know I say it all the time, and I almost want to go see it again today. But maybe tomorrow. I kind of want to really see. Is it Billy Lynn's The Halftime Walk? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, directed by Ang Lee.
It looks like visually stunning. I kind of want to see that.
Well, I mean, because of the visuals in Life of Pi, that's why he got Best Director.
Yeah, I mean
because that movie looks like a watercolor on celluloid.
Yeah, and the story seems really interesting. It's based off a book. I like Kristen Stewart a lot. I know she's in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Billy Crudup's in it.
Yeah, I think so.
I
know Steve Martin is.
Yeah, I always want to hang out with all those people.
Yeah, Vin Diesel. Would you hang out with Vin Diesel?
No.
I'd play D&D with Vin Diesel.
I would.
No.
He likes
Heck,
D&D.
I'd have seconds.
No, I wouldn't hang out. No, I'd politely shake his hand and thank him for the Iron Giant, and then go on my way. Maybe smack him on the ass when I walk by. Like, good job, man.
And then he punches your head off.
Yeah.
Not thanks for the Fast and the Furious franchise.
No.
Certainly not Triple X3.
Oh, remember that trailer?
Oh,
holy moly!
Yeah.
Holy moly! I realized I've been saying "oh boy" a lot lately. I don't know where that's come from,
Yeah.
but I go "oh boy, oh boy." I've been saying that a lot. I guess it's my new thing. But Edge of 17, guys, watch it. It's really good. It's good. I enjoy it a lot. It's definitely one I'm going to buy when it comes out. It's a would you buy it? Answer yes. Thing. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah. Chris, you saw something in theaters.
I did. I saw a little animated feature named Moana, and it was lovely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The story was heartfelt and entertaining. The songs were fun and playful, and it was
Lin-Manuel
Miranda
yeah.
of Hamilton fame. Yes. In fact, the songs were so good that it inspired me to check out the Hamilton soundtrack, which I had been kind of putting off because I don't like listening to soundtracks for shows that I haven't seen. But saw that it was on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free to download. So I was like, hell yeah, and listened to it all in pretty much one sitting. And that's it's 46 songs. I didn't quite check to see how long it is, but it's
almost
over 2
as many
hours.
as a Misfits collection.
I ain't no goddamn son of a bitch.
You better look at that.
You want to tell me that's not the smartest fucking lyric ever written? Omelet of Disease, one of the greatest lines of all time.
But yeah, no. So both Moana and Hamilton now get my thumbs up seal of approval.
You should check out In the Heights. That's the first Broadway play you ever did.
Yeah.
He talks about it a lot on the Mark Maron podcast. He talks about, he's like, look, obviously Hamilton is what he'll be known for good reason, a good measure, but he talks, like very fondly, it's his first thing. He was like a substitute teacher, and the next thing he is not like the next thing, it was a long process, but he's, Broadway composer and all the best. He seems like a really good dude. Like I follow him on Twitter.
Yeah,
he seems like just like the coolest guy.
He would be like, I'm always like, we could be related, Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like there is a passing similarity.
Yeah, Yeah, you should grow the goatee and slick the hair back. And every time,
right, show tunes.
And every time somebody comes up, you just go, Alexander Hamilton.
I'm not gonna miss my shot. I'm not gonna miss my shot. It's probably my favorite song.
How can a tiny island across the sea dictate the price of tea?
Ooh.
Or that's not. I fucked that up.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all in the hood. But the did I do anything interesting? I saw
your place for the first time.
Yeah, both of you have been to my apartment over the course of this weekend.
The best way I can describe it is it looks like a place Professor Jones would live that wasn't his house, but like was the place he lived before he moved to his house. That's what it looks like.
His halfway house?
That's the best compliment I can give you. It looks like the apartment that Dr. Jones got before.
As in Henry Jones Jr.
Henry Jones Jr.
Better known in some circles
as Indiana Jones. Yes. His friends call him Indiana.
Like the dog?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think there's higher praise than calling my apartment.
Yeah, it looks like it. Like you know what you need to do? And I know you probably have one of these, you fuck.
You
get one of those like tweed jackets with like the professor elbow things, and just don't wear it. Just have it hung up on the wall.
Oh, I don't
just
have it
constantly.
I have it in my closet.
Just have it constantly
on display.
Yeah, this is what I wear because I'm technically college faculty.
And then also you got to get a picture of Marcus and Henry Jones Sr. on their desk. And so if someone walks in, you're like, Dad's been gone 15 years now. And you just become Professor Jones.
Yeah. Just like, this doesn't look like your grandfather or father at all.
Yeah. Sorry. I was, while you guys were talking, I was researching In the Heights because I suddenly remembered talking to people while I was living in New York about In the Heights and saying, I think I might be living in the neighborhood that's based on after talking about it for a while. Because for a time I lived in Harlem, a part of Harlem called Hamilton Heights, which is adjacent to Washington Heights, which is where In the Heights is based. So I was like 10 blocks off from where it's set.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You also have to yell Alexandretta, like when something happens to you. Alexandretta. You have to have all the Indiana Jones posters, which I'm sure you'll be fine with, hanging up somewhere.
Though I've already decided that the living room will be the Beatles. I will call it the Magical Mystery Room. It'll, because I've got like half the Beatles albums on vinyl, and I'll just frame them and make it almost like a border.
Yeah,
and then that'll be
my favorite thing is when I was still living at your other place with your sister. She like brought up Revolver. And she's like, we're going to hang all these fuckers up, and it's going to be the Beatles room. And she put it up, the Revolver one, and it's still the only one hanging up there. I haven't lived there in like a year, it feels like. And it's I came by recently, it was just hanging there. And then your area where we spent countless hours like playing Super Smash Brothers and watching Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and everything else and reading comics is now like there's nothing there. Like especially now since you guys took
I basically
the cabinet.
transplanted.
But I walked in and I was like, man, damn, this is like fucking empty. And you're like, yeah, everything's gone except Back to the Egg. And I looked over and Back to the Egg, the album is just sitting there by itself. And I was like, that's how you leave a fucking room.
Yeah, the album that killed Paul McCartney and Wings is just off in its own like space. Yeah.
When you turn off the lights for the last time, he goes, yeah, from Rockestra.
Yeah, the best song on.
You just leave it there for the next owners.
Yeah, you should,
yeah. No, I have to. I have to bring Back to the Egg.
Back to the Egg is my favorite Wings album.
Yeah.
From someone that's never listened to a single full Wings
dude,
album.
This is how...
I think I know 2 songs
Dude,
by
I
Wings.
swear to God, this is how Lick It Up started, and you legitimately love Lick It Up now.
That's true.
So you could be talking some serious truth
Having
right
said
here.
that, you could. Having said that, unlike Lick It Up and you on your Kiss podcast, I don't think Chris is going to convert me to Back to the Egg being like... I won't be like, oh, that's actually a pretty good album. No. Whereas like with Lick It Up, it's like, oh, this is like as far as 80s Kiss goes, this is pretty good.
I think
it's no Animalize.
Your innocent ears listening to Lick It Up for the first time helped expand my mind to be like, yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
that's what I do. 1 in a million, I get it right.
Yeah, I did. I guess the only thing of note, other than helping me move stuff into the apartment, which is now much more furnished than when Chris saw it.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's like a proper apartment.
You got some
now.
couches.
I've
and a
two,
TV.
Yes, also true. I saw Arrival a second time.
There you go.
I mean, I will say this. It's not my favorite film of the year. I still liked it. As we always kind of have that caveat. But no other movie this year has got me thinking more than Arrival.
Yeah. I must agree with that.
Hell or High Water, still my favorite film of the year. But I wasn't like walking out like pondering the implications of Hell or High Water coming out, or Sing Street, or Everybody Wants Some, or The Nice Guys, or any of that.
Yeah. It's. I would for me, I would say that Arrival is the most gestated movie of the year, just because I have to sit and ponder it. Yeah, one of my coworkers, former coworkers, I guess, because he hasn't been with the theater in a couple months now, but he came in the other day and he was like. He has very weird opinions, but I felt like this was noteworthy. He came in and said he was seeing Arrival for like the third time, and he was like, "This movie, best movie of the year, my favorite movie of the year." And I'm like, "Okay." And I, have the same kind of opinion myself, where I'm like, "It's good, but I wouldn't say best." And then like he just randomly like turns around, notices Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and he's like, "That movie, fuck that movie. It's the worst movie I've ever, worst movie I've ever seen." And I'm just like, "You're a fucking idiot." I loved that movie.
I don't know if we talked about this last week because we had both seen since seeing Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. You can't go in with the mindset that it's like a Harry Potter movie.
Not at all.
One, it takes place like 70 years earlier in the timeline. Are there Harry Potter? Is it in the same continuity? Yes. Is there references to like Hogwarts and all that shit? Yes.
Do you hear Dumbledore's voice off screen? Yes.
Yes. But this is, it's very much its own thing. It's kind of like a Harry Potter twist on, and just because I can't think of any other adjectives or comparisons, Harry Potter's twist on like Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They're busting Fantastic Beasts when they find them. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I don't think it would be in my top 10, but I didn't walk out and being like, that was a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed it.
To be totally honest, like I wasn't huge on the Harry Potter books or movies, but Fantastic Beasts might be my favorite thing of the universe so far. But which is not to knock, much like Arrival, not to knock the Harry Potters, proper. But this one was more geared towards my sense and sensibilities and sea monsters.
Right. So, plus there's, Dan Fogler as the comedic relief, I thought did a really good job. I liked him better than Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander, which isn't to say that Eddie Redmayne does a bad job, but Dan Fogler just elevates the material quite a bit.
I would say there are times definitely where he steals the show.
And without going into, we fucking spoil things all the time, but without going into too much detail, I did like that ending. It was a very nice ending.
Yeah. It's funny. So again, not really knowing anything of the universe, and I have no idea how much is known about this stuff, since it's not actually based on a book or book series directly. The bad wizard in this movie,
Gellert Grindelwald.
Yeah, like I didn't know that he was going to be any part of this. So like when they mention him in at the top, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. They're setting up that there's a big bad, but then throughout the movie, completely forgotten that he was a thing, because they do a good job of just kind of like mentioning that he exists, but then they're like, but he's not the focus of this story. Yeah. This is what the focus is.
You could almost argue it's like, oh, he's the guy that causes the tension between humans and wizards,
and that's all you really needed for that episode. And then spoilers, he comes in, and so I'm like, oh shit, that character that they mentioned 2 hours ago or whatever. It's only like an hour and a half or hour 45, I think.
Yeah, it's 2.
Yeah, this guy that they mentioned, a couple hours ago, I almost forgot that he existed. Cool, he's part of this. And now like they're setting it up to be like a big bad, I guess, throughout the rest of the movies. and it's fucking Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
who I had no idea would even maybe be in this movie.
And here's the thing, against we always spoil things. We gave you the warning earlier, but it's kind of, he's got the person he disguises himself as has the same haircut as him.
Yeah, I'm like,
I was just
oh, how did I not notice that they had the same haircut? It's that color.
Yeah, that's
and
that.
It was it just me, or does he kind of have like a Christopher Lloyd from Who Framed Roger Rabbit thing going on?
Yeah,
Judge Doom
absolutely
at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when he starts cartooning himself.
Yeah, just like this.
Still haunts me to this day.
Oh, I mean, it's my first conscious memory is watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit in theaters.
And I'm getting it on Blu-ray for Christmas.
I have it on Blu-ray forever. What was the first Blu-ray you ever got?
Oh boy! It was Jack Reacher.
For me, it was
that late in the game?
Oh yeah, real late. And I didn't have a Blu-ray player. I just bought it for the DVD, and I gave you the digital code.
That's right. I have Jack Reacher in my digital library, and Days of Thunder because it came with a free.
The first DVD, the first Blu-ray I bought the day I bought a Blu-ray player. This is how late in the game I was Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was the steel book, like
2 years ago.
Best Buy, like yeah, I fucking late.
I mean, hey, who needs Blu-rays when you got voodoo codes, right?
You know what I mean?
No voodoo code, no thanks.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Hey Sam, what's your latest voodoo buy? Go.
My latest voodoo buy.
Go.
Is Geek Out now sponsored by Voodoo?
I wish get some of that Walmart money. No, the last thing I bought on Voodoo. Shit. It was probably. It wasn't the second to last. The second most recent thing I've got on Voodoo was Frost Nixon.
Oh.
But the most recent thing I got on Voodoo was maybe in the Suicide Squad.
I remember you turned to me. We were waiting to see. Maybe it was Arrival, and you were like, "Jake, let's do the thing." And I was like, "What?" You're like, "I may have gotten sued." I was like, "You fuck!" I wanted to get up and move down 5 seats. But no, I get it. I got Kick-Ass for $4.99 in HDX. Nice. I love that film. It's one of my favorite comic films of all time. And then Chris. For $7.99, I got the unrated Evil Dead HDX. I haven't watched it yet, but I got that. And the cover is a little bit better. It's still not like the this is the most whatever, but it's the shot of Jane Levy looking back like, oh. Yeah. It's all red. It's awesome.
First off, the first Blu-ray I ever got was the Jason Bourne, at that point, trilogy, that box set. Are you gonna buy Jason Bourne? No.
Originally,
I was like, if they have a bundle and save, that's like less than $30.
That ain't gonna happen.
And they did have a bundle and save.
Yeah.
For like $40, and I was like,
"There's no saving."
Yeah, no saving this. Because honestly, I would just be buying that bundle for the first 3 movies. I'd be like, awesome, well done.
It's like me buying an Alien bundle.
Oh,
like I have the quadrilogy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, for the first 3.
If they
maybe just the first 2.
Yeah, if they have a I was hoping they would have a bundle and save for Indiana Jones, because it's Cyber Monday when we're recording this.
Yeah.
But they did not.
My first Blu-ray, if I recall correctly, was the Blade Runner
Final Cut.
The 5 movie set, which I got for free. So I guess it's not my first buy, but the first Blu-ray that I owned. So it was given to me because this guy was like, "I don't fucking like Blade Runner. Here you go, have it."
Shit.
Guy that I was working with at Midtown Comics.
That's cool.
Yeah. I have still yet to actually sit down and watch all 5 versions in one day, which I promised myself 3 years ago when I got it that I was going to do. I know I made fun of you for being late in the game with Blu-rays, but I only got a Blu-ray player like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, no, I was holding out, the HD DVDs was going to be a thing. Like I even still had an HD DVD player when I moved up to New York. It's sitting right there.
I remember when we were closing
computer.
one of the Blockbusters, there were still a couple HD DVDs like under the thing.
I still have like at least 2 HD DVDs in my DVD rack right there.
I got my Blu-ray player in 2009.
Shit.
Yeah, so I've had a Blu-ray player for like 7 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
Still works?
Yep.
Yeah. Was that one of the,
no. No.
Was that one of the
It didn't.
$500 ones?
I had to get a different. I have you're right. I have a second one now.
Okay.
Yeah, the first
Yeah,
one.
because even I've gone through 2 Blu-ray players.
Yeah.
But I think that was partially because of moving
And now-
it getting jacked
Yeah,
up.
now I'm all digital, and I'm so glad, especially having just made this move, because, I mean, shit, man. Even I haven't moved over all my comics yet because there's so many. My God, so many comic books. One of my buddies was like, "You should keep all your comic books. It would be like the Library of Alexandria," and I'd be like, "No, man. It would be like the warehouse at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark."
Yeah. Never to be seen again.
Until Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Ah, man. But yeah, you guys got anything to add? Anything you're thankful for now that we're coming out of Thanksgiving?
Well, now that you say it, no.
I got us tickets for Rogue One. What up?
Yeah.
Yay. You're gonna see Darth Vader on the big screen soon.
I mean, I've seen him on the
I've
big screen.
seen...
Yeah. You've seen episode 3 shit. I'm
I've
talking
also-
about
I've also
episode 4.
I mean, I've seen
all
4,
the
5, and
special
6.
editions.
Yeah. That was re-release shit. This is new movie. This is new movie territory. This is a new film.
I'll give you that.
This
I'll
is
give
a
you
new
that.
film.
I think is this
A
the
film.
yeah Willem Dafoe?
Sorry, if I may interject real quick. Speaking of the word film, on a recent How Did This Get Made, they talked about The Lawnmower Man, and they brought up a clip of The Tonight Show where Pierce Brosnan, a star of The Lawnmower Man,
Yes.
is talking about making the movie, and he refers to it as a film. And I was just like, oh, is this where it came from? I don't know if
Was
it
it
is.
you or
but-
me that started calling things? You started calling.
But you were in happy company.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I don't. For some reason I know that because it's dumb. But like, there's so many things that I don't know who started what anymore.
Yeah.
It's just symbiotic brain. That's right. I said it. Symbiotic.
That's a good band name, Symbiotic Brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, it's right up
Um,
there with Abbott is Death
no, but-
Process.
No, the reason the reason I'm mostly psyched about this Vader is because it's like, it's episode 4 Vader. Ruby-eyed Vader. Ruby-eyed Vader.
There's your album title.
Yeah. And like I said, yeah, we saw the re-release Vader. We knew all about that shit. We've seen Hayden Panettiere in the Vader outfit for episode 3.
I wish it had been Hidden Panettiere.
Yeah, it's just like small thing on the, and
But
we've seen
still
like
James Earl Jones'
yeah.
voice.
We've seen like charcoal-headed, helmet in episode 7, but it's cool to see like this is uncharted territory Vader, so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about seeing him in action.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess this has been another installment of catching up, and of course, thanks again to Caitlin and Steven for coming on the show.
Yes.
Again, Throwaways Volume 1 is out in comic shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, December 21st, and it comes back with issue 5 for the second story arc on Wednesday, February 8th. But yeah, this has been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
Chris.
I'm Jake.
Fried chicken.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.